There's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, GuMPers.
Well, bom dia, alegria. Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show, live stream and podcast. Let me just turn Minecraft off on my phone. The celestial music you can hear in the distance is, well, I don't know if you know Minecraft. I barely do, but it's in our house quite a lot. The children play it, and it was there magically on my phone as I began this show this morning. How are you? Do let us know. This is the Good Morning Portugal show. What's good about your morning this morning? I think I've woken up a new man. Should we see if I feel like a new man? Should we see if Mrs. M does? Morning to you, Mrs. M. How are you this morning? Oh, you want some volume as well, do
Yes,
you? God,
please.
what a diva. You'd like to be heard, would you?
Yes,
today?
I would like to be heard. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I don't want a new man. I'm actually quite happy with the man I've got.
Well, that's good. I wasn't just, setting a test for you this morning.
You were.
I was a little bit, wasn't I?
You
but
were,
yeah,
definitely.
It's always funny, isn't it, when you say, I feel like a new man. Well, if you give my mother the right amount of wool, she'll knit you one. So how was your weekend? I think you're bouillant this morning, aren't you? With your, what was it, 500% increase in subscribers to your astrology channel?
It's increasing exponentially at the minute. It's getting faster and faster and faster.
Okay.
It's such a delight and surprise having been hard at it for about 7 years on another channel.
Yeah.
And then, I was expecting it to be really slow, and actually it's increasing really fast.
Yes.
And the only thing that's really different, because I'm doing the same things I did 5 years ago.
But are you?
I am doing the same things, but I'm doing 5 years later.
I'm challenging that. If I have let me see if I've got a challenge sound effect.
Not really challenging, is it?
That's not. But it is somewhat of a mystery. I don't, in that sense that if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got.
Yeah.
You must be doing something a little bit different.
Well, I'm 5 years older, and
well, that's true.
That's better.
But you still play like a kid on an office chair.
I do,
even though you're 5 years older.
You're asking about the weekend. It was kind of surprising because
I think you've just deflected me away from some probing analysis.
Actually, I might have done. Yeah.
Yes, go on, but carry on.
Yes, the experience of catching sick as it's
it's
going down the top bunk bed onto the lower bunk
kids,
bed.
Aren't they great? Now, you're not talking about your own debauched weekend.
No,
this is one of our children.
It's interesting actually, because over the last couple of months we've had quite a few sort of medical things going on.
Yeah,
nothing serious. It's almost like our
health
bodies.
Challenges.
I think it's our bodies just clearing out.
I think it is. I think there's a lot of it going on as well. So
2022 was pretty intense for us, and 2023's got off to a pretty intense start.
Yeah.
But yeah, so our sons had to clear out, and our daughters had a second birthday party postponed.
Yeah,
I don't know if we're ever going to get around to doing that.
So many variables. That's the thing, isn't it? The bigger a family or a tribe gets, the more variables there are. And I think there's quite a lot of variables going on in the collective tribe as well, aren't there, at the moment? So if you're not feeling brilliant this morning, lots of love to you. Here's to you for a speedy recovery, but not one that's too quick, that takes away the good that might come from a little bit of introspection and curling up under a duvet, because we can wish these things away, and they do have their own benefits, don't they?
Do you know what? I've never been so kind of like welcoming of having a clear out. Like last week.
Never mind about the rest of us in the house.
Like last week, I could have been really kind of gutted and upset and blah 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 blah, but actually, I really enjoyed doing nothing for 4 or 5 days. It was great.
That's not even true, is it? Because you still
I did still do loads, but I slowed my pace down, and the kids like jumped into bed and watched movies, and then we vegged on the sofa, and that's something that's really unheard of for me.
It's what people used to do in the old days. You say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a massive TV person.
Yeah,
but I don't know. There was a definite
one
slowing
day you
down.
will be.
There was a definite slowing down. I was very appreciative of it, and I mean, this weekend, yes, we've done a few things. I cleaned the oven, which really needed doing.
Wow, living the dream.
Yes, living the
vomit,
dream.
Oven detritus. Do you want to complete that holy trinity of domestic goddessery? What else?
We did a load of washing.
Yes.
And
I was at the laundromat, wasn't I?
Yeah.
So I've already translated that for our American friends. Yeah.
But there was a real slowing down, not in a rush to get everything done. I'm just taking it easy, and I think people should.
Okay, all right. 9 o'clock.
It's a good thing to do.
We will welcome James Holley, and we'll do some of that mindful migration in a Frasier style, which blends nicely into Europe's biggest phone-in, and we're pretty modest about that being the host of Europe's biggest phone-in. Calls went up by 500% towards the end of last week. It's going pretty well, I have to say. Look at this. Owen's here as well. Good morning, Owen. Good morning, Deagle. Good morning, T-Duck. Good morning, Baddie, James, aforementioned, and Coach Turner already in. And the urge is to smash the like button, even if it is the only exercise you're going to get today. See if you can smash that like button.
And even if you're just smashing it because you heard about my cleaning.
Yeah, and even if it doesn't do anything, smash it. We really don't know if it does anything or not. I get a strange readout here that tells me that far fewer people are watching than actually are, I'm sure. And we get the funny thing, my eye goes to the angry emojis. It doesn't really go to the love hearts and thumbs
I never
up.
see any angry emojis.
Very occasionally we get one, and I'll say, "Who's angry?"
Is that when people are
usually a mistake.
airporting?
Yeah, it could be, couldn't it? Yeah, I'm going. Enough of this. No, we haven't had that for a little while. Goodbye. No,
It's funny, isn't it? How
usually a mistake.
People announce their they're saying good morning everyone in the chat room, and they're all saying hello to each other, and they also announce when they're about to leave in a huff as well.
Well, and also some people say I can't be here today, which is really polite.
That's really lovely.
I love that people can be that bothered to say that, well, to give their excuses. So I really appreciate you, lovely people.
Yes,
actually, not you lovely people, that's far too collective. I really appreciate you. Yes, you
right there.
You. And that'll include Brian now as well, and Storm. How are you two this morning? And look at this lovely idea from Owen that there are only 6 more Mondays until spring. I read that as 6 days. 6
so
more
did
Mondays.
I, and I was thinking, well, that's not quite right. But then I saw the Mondays, and then I realized,
very good, nice reframe.
Owen is the spring version of some of our friends that start counting down the sleeps till Christmas in September and things.
Or the sleeps till you're back in Portugal, which is what Deagle's doing.
Ooh.
And we welcome this. Now, Deagle, can't believe, thank you, Owen, thank you, Deagle. Can hardly believe it's the 9th of January already. A month usually slow, but a very busy start. I mean, it's an intense time in the world, the full moon and all sorts going on in the world right now, right? In the worldly world. Already worked 7 12-hour night shifts. I mean, he's worked more days than there actually have been in the month by the sound of it.
I've got a question for Deagle. I saw an article on Substack. I've got a question
for him as well.
I saw an article on Substack that suggested that the amount of live births across Europe has just dropped by 10%, and that the drop hasn't been seen since the mobilization for World War One. I was just wondering.
He's at the front line of such matters, isn't he? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm wondering, has there been a demonstrable drop in live births
in the world of wifery?
In midwifery where you are?
Yes.
Just wondering, because in these figures that was quoted, Italy and the UK hadn't participated, and I think the biggest drop was in Romania, where there was an 18.8% drop in live births. And so the article was about, where's all the missing children gone? Europe's missing 6,000.
I think you have to look back 9 months to get the answer to that, don't you?
Yeah,
or thereabouts. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But Deagle, I mean, this is over a period of 9 months as well.
Okay,
so
at
we're
least
talking
9
18 months.
Yes. Okay. He's looking forward.
Just wondering.
Yes, looking forward to February, off 6 nights of leave, then Portugal in March and April. Nice one, Deagle.
That's amazing.
And we need to get some money to you, Deagle. Never have I known a man so reluctant to receive money. We're going to have to just give it to charity, I think, if we can't figure out a way of getting it to you. So
What's going on there?
Deagle won the sweepstake, the World Cup sweepstake.
So how is he not getting the money?
Because we haven't figured out a way to transport it to him yet. We do usually with these things.
When you say we, is this like
all of us, the collective? Yeah, the people who owe him €10 each, and some of that might go to charity, some of it might go to Deagle. I mean, Deagle's that kind of guy.
Deagle, have you got a PayPal account?
Well, that's all we probably need to know, isn't it? Or a bank
Yeah,
details,
don't give your
IBAN
details
number.
here.
Yeah. Well, you could give a PayPal details, can't you? We'll get that money over to you, but we'll have to make a cutoff point, I think, where we'll just advise everyone to pay it directly to charity. So let us know, Deagle, what you think of that, and what great news that is, that you've got 77 sleeps till you feel some Portugal heat. It's not here yet anyway. Yeah, there isn't much Portugal heat to feel. It's been raining again. I don't know if you saw the pictures of Porto. There was like a river of rain running down the street. Quite incredible. Incredible scenes, people say, don't they, on the news?
Well, there are a few incredible scenes, like in California at the minute.
Yes.
Like 500,000 people have been displaced. And, and they've been warned to get out.
Yes, my goodness. Right, that's what I'm talking about, the upheaval of the worldly world.
Yes, definitely watching the water at the minute.
We need touch points of safety and feel good, I think, in the world, such as it is at the moment. And
now, I would like to mention something about being in Portugal, because like if you've not lived in Portugal or like maybe spent
I see what you did there. You're talking about Portugal stuff because we're the Good Morning Portugal show. Get it now. Yeah, go on.
You might not like in the UK, for instance. Everywhere I've lived in the UK, we've had mains gas and mains electricity. And when I've lived in other parts of the world, apart from Indonesia, where we had gas bottles. In Portugal, a lot of addresses have gas bottles. So, you buy these great big propane bottles.
Or little ones.
But
you can have knee-high. You can have knee-high or shoulder-high.
I recommend you get big ones. Who doesn't like a big one first thing in the morning to warm the cockles of your heart? So anyway.
Bit of gas in the morning.
So in our address, I think a lot of houses are slowly being put onto mains gas, but you'll probably at some point be in a place where there's bottles. You've usually got two, like one full up and one that gets empty, and then you replace it yourself.
Who does that?
Very clever.
We don't.
Who did that? That's under your.
I just did. Because James is saying Porto's new marketing campaign,
Porto,
where the streets turn to rivers. You see what I did there?
Yeah, very clever.
Porto.
But anyway,
yes, gas.
Yes, you need to be prepared for the fact that you might forget to order your next gas bottle.
Oh, really? What makes you think of that?
Because yesterday we actually came to the end, and to be fair, we were kind of daring ourselves to go there.
It went a long way, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I keep a little spreadsheet.
You do?
So I know roughly when it's going to go.
Wow.
It's currently, for the last like 3 or 4 cycles, it's been lasting us about 6 weeks for a family, hopping in the shower, occasionally having a bath, but also cooking on a gas stove. So that's, what is it, 130
these days,
130 euros for that, for 6 weeks worth of gas.
Yes.
Well, anyway, we just run out, and so it's always really handy to have a little camping stove. Which also had run out of gas
on the first one, the first line of defense. But where was that little transit type stove that was given to us by some friends returning to the United States? And we found it, didn't we?
Yeah, in the back of the pantry.
Hot chocolate. It was a real blitz spirit in the kitchen.
So I mean,
our own silly fault.
Yeah, so we do have a couple of lines of defense. We've also got an electronic hot plate. We've also got like an electronic crock pot, which we cooked a really tasty meal in last night.
Yes.
Thankfully, we already had some stock on the go.
And then chuck some ramen noodles in to get the kids to eat the soup.
And,
result.
So always be aware of that.
The moral of the story is what?
Have backup gas.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like our local guys, they usually take it's usually maybe a 24-hour turnaround.
They're pretty good, aren't they?
If we go and pay them this morning, we might even get one delivered this afternoon.
But let's face it, it's how we live, isn't it?
Well, no, normally we just change the gas bottles over.
Well, yeah, we're maybe a few days ahead, aren't we? Really sensible people, and who
would
you
change
are,
it the moment
would
it
buy
goes.
2 now, wouldn't they, rather than 1?
Yeah.
And
let's do that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, well, if you want to support the Good Morning Portugal show, if you'd like to sponsor the next gas bottle, it can be the knee-high one or the shoulder-high one, depending on how generous you feel. Is that what you were working towards there?
No, not at
Right,
all.
okay.
We've got the money to buy 2 today. That's no
I've
problem.
never bought online or banked or PayPal. If people choose, they can pick a charity of their choice. Okay, we'd like you to have something as well, Deagle, I think. But anyway, there comes a point there where people would like it'll be the next World Cup and we still haven't paid you. But Bombeiros community heroes, not only firefighting but flooding now. So maybe an even better reason to donate.
Deagle, when you come over, are you coming to the
He goes down
Silver
south.
Coast?
He goes down south.
Oh,
Who
okay.
doesn't like to go down south first thing in the morning? I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
That will alert everybody to direct their money direct to the Bombeiros. And all the people who've given me money to give to you, Deagle, I will also do that straight to I'll take it round to the San Martino de Porto Bombeiros as well. So thank you very much. We've got a result there. Perfect. Glad to say dry morning in Ponte Lima, not only the oldest town with the oldest market in Portugal, but it's also the wettest. More than Manchester.
Oh my goodness.
No, there isn't anywhere wetter than Manchester. Don't believe that for one moment. Emma's here.
That's Manchester in the UK as well, not in the US.
Oh, yeah, of course. Good morning, lovelies. Good morning. Right back at you, Emma Belto Williamson. How are you doing? Hope New Year's going well with you. We've got a love heart, and that's from Lloydie this morning. He doesn't like being called Lloyd. He prefers Lloyd. We've had this conversation. I hope you both well. Morning, Lloyd. How you doing, mate?
I love that comment from James.
Any news? What's James saying?
You can just put it on. Look.
Have
backup gas, not to be confused with have backed up gas.
Would you, for some reason, I discovered this morning, and I'm going to put this in. I'm going to have my own little Ugo Nuno this morning.
Okay.
That the human intestine. Part of the reason I feel like a new man this morning, and yes, very funny. I feel like a new man myself. I don't feel like going out and getting a new man.
Why is
it's
that?
part of the conversation I had with our intuitive healer friend yesterday.
Ah, yes.
Because of course I record podcasts with other people. I produce and co-host other podcasts as well, and I'm available if there's any interesting projects. And he was talking about one of the things that he talked about was I think he called it the intermissary, which I've looked up this morning, and there's no such thing. So I must have misheard him.
Or he's just been really cool.
Yeah, it's a good word, isn't it?
Yeah,
it sounds slightly religious, slightly medical, but it's the sac of intestines. And I'm aware that I've had this slightly nervous feeling in my intestinal sac ever since I can remember. And I woke up this morning thinking, I'm going to dispense with that feeling. I'm going to replace it with something else, because the really brilliant and amazing thing he said was that if you don't choose what's in your body, somebody else will. And he meant that in terms
like bugs and parasites.
No, in terms of energy. But bugs and parasites also true, and body parts. I suspect you've got to be careful what goes into your body. You know, you need to be discerning and choose, don't you, on every level, whether it be mind, body, or spirit. So that really, I found that such a, I thought I knew a thing or two, and that's the great peril in life, isn't it? Is thinking you know a thing or two. The wise people obviously know they know nothing or very little, and that really took me to a new level of insight and being. Just that it's funny, isn't it? It's little things you hear and they just mean a lot. And
so how does that how does that lead?
I was lying in bed this morning. Do you not remember this morning when I was kept hitting the snooze button?
Yes.
And okay, you've put me on the spot, and this is a bit of a slightly embarrassing share in a way, because
sorry.
no, it's fine. You know me, I don't need much encouragement to get over my embarrassment, do I? But this feeling, many people will know it from school, feeling slightly nervous in the morning, and that becomes a habit, doesn't it? And there are kids who go to school, love going to school, and they don't have that. They have a different sort of feeling on a different part of the emotional scale of anticipation, excitement, and keenness to get to school. I never had that. I was very nervous every morning.
Yes,
and it's a habit that stayed with me. And here I am in my 50s. I don't go to school anymore, but I still have that little tingle or buzz of apprehension. And I was thinking, I don't need to have that.
No.
It's a bad habit. And again, there's no point judging it or getting too hung up about it. But look, James is right there with a notice, choose, and act. And I did. And I thought, in line with what our intuitive healer friend said, if you don't choose, something or someone else will. And I remembered the words of my favorite spiritual teacher I was listening to this morning, going back into the record stack of his recordings, and he said something like, "I will not have." Yeah, Barry Long. I will not have unhappiness in me.
Yes.
And that came to me in a new light this morning. He's choosing. He chooses not to have unhappiness in him. And I know that comes quite difficult to some people, that idea that you wouldn't have unhappiness in you. I've always loved the idea of that, ever since I first heard him say that. And it came with a new level of understanding this morning as a result of what I heard yesterday. No, what? It stopped clicking. What's that? What's going on? I think we've got some clicks going on. Baddy by Randy are having a conversation about.
Oh, about boilers.
Oh, I see.
I'm guessing it's about
I
boilers.
think it might be, mightn't it? Okay.
What else clicks when you
My mouse,
turn?
which is a bit noisy. That can be a bit annoying when you're listening to a radio show and someone's got a noisy mouse.
Well, you know, when you get a clicky jaw all of a sudden and you're
clicky
talking.
Jaw. I've never had clicky jaw. You have clicky
clicks.
jaw, don't you? Sometimes?
Occasionally, yeah, it's very annoying.
Thank you for your production note, T-Duck. That's good to know. I really don't know what that was, but I'm glad to hear it's sorted itself out. It's blown over, as it were. Now here's a memory that popped up this morning. The days. It's a picture of the old man cave of us. Are we dancing on the man cave?
Was it when you had your man cave disco?
It was man cave vintage. Yeah, I think it was. But these young uns. They don't know how to roll.
Of course they do.
They don't know how to cut up a rug like we used to. I'm going to show you this picture.
They do.
They don't. They sit there getting drunk. And whereas we used to do that, but then we would dance it off. Look at that. Don't we look so happy in those days? In the old days of the man cave. Hold on a minute. Let me just move that comment out of the way. Buddy will come. By Randy, we'll come back to that. I'm having trouble pressing every button except the right one. That is a comment, not a bit of branding there. So let me just move that. Here we go. Carl Munson is live. Garvo has got a woolly hat on in his dance.
Really suits him, actually.
Do you think so? I think he's like a garden gnome who's gone to a rave in the 90s.
Oh, I think he looks great.
Frank the hat. Were we all wearing hats? There was something
you're not, love.
I'm not. I should be.
But it looks like you're wearing the hair from the screen behind you.
The Mun Cave.
Yeah.
And we look at this. David Dilworth used to be with us in those days as well. My goodness, look at that. And that's when more women, I would say, used to come to the man cave as well. Yes, fantastic stuff. Thank you very much for that lovely memory that's flashed up on your timeline this morning. Showing the youngsters how to do it. Sorry, go on.
You were talking about, your vulnerability in terms of, choosing how you feel.
In the mornings,
yeah. And
at all, any time of day, actually.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we do remind ourselves a few times a day, don't we? And we also... when we notice,
does this belong to?
Yeah, we also ask each other that question when one of us has a feeling of discomfort.
Yeah,
that like arrives sort of in a surprising way, and sort of like knocks us for six. We instantly
ask, some of that as well, haven't we?
Yeah, who does this belong to? What's going on right now?
Yeah. Well, yes, and I would extend that to everybody watching this morning. How do you feel today? And is what you're feeling yours?
Yeah.
Is it an old habit?
Because, I mean, that's the thing. You think that everything you feel is yours. And, Carl, you would get toothache every time one of our kids was teething.
That's true. Yeah.
Every like clockwork, your jaws would start aching, and it's because you're picking up on their
intuitive,
pain.
a clairsentient, you might say. Look at this. Nuno's with us as well. Hey, good to see you as well early in the morning. Nice to see an early riser alongside us.
We all like early risers first thing in the morning,
and we've got a good morning, Louisa, for you as well.
Oh, thank you.
Too. Okay, we need to help Baddy with her. Before we help Baddy with her boiler. This is what I was going to say about intestines. The human intestine is home to around 40 trillion bacteria. Whose job was it to count those, do you think, in the laboratory?
Don't know, but it's not my favourite job, put it that way. It's not what I would do.
Counting other people's back.
Do you know what? It won't just be 40 trillion bacteria. It will be like hundreds of different species in there as well.
And you've got to separate them all. And they keep moving about. They keep moving about, probably, don't they? I imagine the intern gets to do that. That's not a senior laboratory job, is it? I wouldn't have thought. This corresponds to a weight of around 7 ounces. Now, that the movie with Will Smith, is it called 6 ounces or something, which is supposed to be the weight of the soul, isn't it?
Or 7 pounds or something.
maybe the soul is not what weighs that. It's the intestinal bacteria that all suddenly die when you go. And talking of dying, death and dying, tonight 7:30 we have an extended departure lounge. with Mama Bear McGowan. We'll be talking about death and dying in all seriousness and in a light-hearted way, of course, as we do. With the practicalities. We'll go everywhere with death and dying tonight, as we usually do with Mama Bear, and that's from 7:30. That's our third webinar in the series of moving to Portugal in 2023. Everything you need to get your ducks in a row, and that's quite an important one, knowing about the death and dying as people have experienced it in Portugal, and knowing what you need to be doing in that instance when the inevitable occurs. Anyway, back to this morning. And hopefully we make it through to this evening. Hold on a minute, I'm not finished with that.
Oh, sorry.
Look at that, the 200 grams of bacteria you're carrying around with you. Your intestinal flora is designed to live with you. It processes components of your food and helps you to gain important nutrients such as short-chain fatty acids and vitamins. Do you know what it feels like to feast upon a short-chain fatty acid?
No idea.
You see, just take it for granted, don't you? Newsflash, Lord Gilchrist is here. A woman arrested for shoplifting in Lisbon. Her handbag was also arrested on suspicion of being an accessory.
Very good.
Not bad at all. It's quite a good crop of dad jokes. Visual and written in this way. Sorry I didn't warn you about that one. Cairo are also with us.
Morning.
Good morning from Cairo. In Cairo this morning, or Cairo in Cairo in Caldas. Lovely. Thank you for being here this morning. Now we need to help Paddy, don't we? Before James joins us in a few minutes with starting life anew in Portugal, and a really nice use of the word anew, A-N-E-W, very nice. We have to help Paddy here. We have the gas back up. So you're a 2-bottle person by the sound of it. And Baddy's house buying process has been documented on our YouTube channel as well. Thank you, Baddy. It was lovely chatting to you at the last meetup. Your conversation is now a matter of public record on our YouTube channel. Your somewhat prolonged and protracted house buying process. People can find out more about that over on the YouTube channel. And Catherine's cornstarch catastrophe as well is there too. Okay, your instant gas water heater stopped lighting up. I changed the batteries, but it did not fix it. What else can be the problem? Your flow switch can be the problem, can't it? Or that thing that ignites. What's that called, apart from being called the igniter, possibly? Now, Bairandi has stepped in, has he not, to help? Does it click? If it does, it sometimes takes quite a few turning the hot tap on and off to get it going again. And make sure the taps are on full. Yeah, that's to get the flow switch going.
What, like, in terms of the actual gas?
Well, when you turn the tap on, the boiler can feel the water pressure coming through, which then sparks the ignition. It's the flow switch. And if it's not clicking, that might be the problem. It has stopped clicking.
Paddy, can I ask a question? Have you lit your stove? Like, is the gas actually coming through?
There's a really
because that's
good tip.
the first logical thing to do, actually, is just to know that you've definitely got a supply.
Yes, and then it's
because in our 2 bottles, you can turn one bottle off and the other one on.
Yes,
but there's also a little switch in between the two, and you've got to turn it to turn one bottle off and allow that new flow to be going in.
She doesn't think flow is the problem.
Okay, well, that's one way to think about it for everyone else that's managing bottles. Yeah,
then that's really good. A nice intervention. And I like this. Look, I do not think flow is the problem. On the end there.
Because, like, it is a bit of a logical investigation, with these gas things.
It is. And that is not our strength in this household, is it? Logical investigation. We have to
I don't know. I think I'm quite good.
We have to apply ourselves in that department, I think. Anyway, bye, Randy. Morning to you, mate. I guess if it's not plugged into the mains, if so, rotate the plug plus minus around as well. Listen, plus minus on the gas, and also negative affirmations and positive ones. I love it. And we'll go through these with James.
Yeah.
When he gets here in just a moment, who is called Who Is That this morning. Yikes, here I am relaxing, done the morning chores, enjoying you guys. Remembered the 12-year-old grandson who is still asleep and supposed to be on the bus to school in 10 minutes. Sorry to laugh. He'll enjoy that lie-in, won't he? Why do schools here not stick to a single start time? His sister was away as ever at 8:10. Let the panic screaming begin. Oh, Oh, bless him. Okay, Sarah's here as well. Morning to you. Bon dia, Sarah. And the Aveiro is getting competition for the Venice of Portugal. I
always thought it was known as the Venice of Portugal.
Well, that is in our meme machine, which I think, yes, I have. I was going to do some news stories this morning. Let me just share with you on the screen the meme machine, which is where I'm attempting to share all the memes that have been created since we've been going here. And there are, do you mind? There are a lot of them. Is that you, Mrs. M?
I was about to make sure that
you, wasn't it?
I was trying to make. I was just wanted to star something.
There it is. Look.
Andy had said.
Okay, welcome, the Aveiro of Italy. That's what it says in Venice.
Very clever.
Not bad, huh? Okay, how I could just lay my hands on it like that, I think is quite amazing.
Yeah,
too.
it's very good.
We might have to come back to the news later on. There's a little bit of stimulation for the biggest phone in at 9:30. But what were you going to do?
I just wanted to bring this up because I thought it was really great.
Go on.
If you think a weakness can be turned into a strength, I hate to tell you this, but that's another weakness.
Oh, Jack Handy.
But I think that's a great thing, because we've got obviously Slug's friend James, or who is that, coming on in a moment.
Who is that this morning?
Who is that?
Who is that? Go on. Oh, yeah, you finished.
Yes.
Sorry, I thought. Okay. All right. Deep thoughts still to come from Ursula Kale again. She's good value, isn't she? She gave us all our deep thoughts last week, but a very quick deep thought from her. People who deny the existence of dragons are often eaten by dragons from within. Ooh, and that is UKLG, I'm going to call her this week, American author, best known for her works of speculative fiction, including The Lathe of Heaven. We've got an Ugo Nunu to come and some dad jokes from T-Duck. Stick around for those. A whole hour or so to go yet here on the Good Morning Portugal show, where we now welcome, what's he calling himself this morning? Who is that? So let's
he's back to Slug's friend James now.
Well, so he says, but he'll probably change that again by the time the music's
over.
Yeah,
he really identifies in many different ways.
All right, we'll see him after this. Oh, well, let's bring him onto the screen then. Well, hey, James! Who is that?
Who is that?
Who's that?
Who's that?
How are you, mate? Tudo bem?
I love that song. I really do. It's really.
I do. It changes things, doesn't it?
You don't hear. I mean, well, you would have heard Carl in the background. Did you hear Carl in the background? He's always
scatting along to it.
Yeah, he always does his own little riffs and things in the background whenever he's playing any kind of music.
When he switches over, I get whatever everyone else gets, which is
okay.
Yeah. You always get a swing at the end, though, from me.
I do.
Yes.
Yes, you were thinking. You were wanting another man, weren't you? You did feel like a new man.
And here he is. So
I don't know how new I am, but I'm here.
Well, in some sense, you are new, aren't you? We are new each and every moment, aren't we? We could be. If
Absolutely,
we wanted.
Yes. Especially in the morning.
Yes.
When we wake up.
Notice, choose, and act our newness each day. So how are you? How are you feeling today, James?
I'm doing fabulous, thanks.
Great.
Yeah, again, it's about choices. And I have a very long story that I won't bother telling, but I came to the conclusion that how I am is however I decide I am. And that doesn't have to be based on what's happened today already. Yeah. That could be based on where I'm going in my future, what my hopes and my dreams are, or just how I'm feeling right in this very moment. So I can choose how I feel when someone asks me. And that reminds me when someone says, how are you? It's like, oh, another chance to choose. How am I?
Yeah.
So if I'm feeling low when someone says, how are you? It's like, oh, I don't have to feel low. I can choose something better. Maybe the best I can come up with is getting better by the minute, but that's better than feeling crappy. Right. So.
Absolutely right. And before we go any further, because I really do want to go into this more, it seems to be the theme of the morning. Good morning to you, Jean, who is in
our
Portugal.
Time zone.
How about
so
this?
Happy for you, Jean.
Isn't that amazing? Absolutely wonderful. Bom dia, Dolinda Mon Carapacho. So you're here, Jean. That is such good news. Well done. How was it? How was your journey? How does it feel to be here? We are talking about how we feel this morning. And could you just summarize one more time, James, that it was the punchline of your long story, which you didn't share with us, but you shared with us that fantastic punchline, which is?
I get to choose how I feel.
You get to choose how you feel, and that carries on, doesn't it, from earlier conversations along the notice, choose and act, and happiness is a choice, I think is how you put it on previous occasions. And we were thinking we might have a GuMPer t-shirt with that on. Happiness is a choice. Inside job, you could say as well, couldn't you?
Yeah, it's true of all our emotions, actually.
Yes.
Now you emotion. How am I choosing?
Yes.
If not all of us, certainly most of us have had moments where we realize I don't have to be angry right now, and just say, fuck it. I'm going to be angry anyway. I don't care. I'm not going to be angry.
Oh, you've broken the switch.
I just trying to press. Oh, too late.
We need a beat, don't we?
I also need to know when someone's going to say something like that as well.
Yeah, it's really hard when you're talking about the flow. In the flow, to just go.
Fiona's grandson is 12. He said much worse, I suspect. So, especially this morning. When Fiona's okay. No, this is a really great theme this morning. It is, isn't it? And I know we can all have our own little bit of resistance about it as well, because it's a big responsibility as well, isn't it? You could say it is our supreme responsibility as human beings, perhaps.
Yes, and people say you make me feel some way. That's too much responsibility for me.
Is that what you tell them?
How you feel. Choose your feeling. If I'm being an ass, choose to laugh and have a great time at how funny my assholiness is.
I'm going to write that down. Do we need that on the back of the t-shirt?
We've started doing that, haven't we, at home?
Maybe. What have we started doing at home?
No, you've been commending my ability to not take.
Screw you.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I see.
Not
what you mean
not like to just choose to be offended. And actually it's really quite funny when you observe yourself about to have like the same reaction that you would normally have to a kind of comment.
Yes.
Just the kind of screw you, or I don't have to feel like that. It's absolutely fine.
It makes us
and
laugh.
We
now,
laugh.
doesn't it?
We just laugh out loud.
Yes.
Which is something I wouldn't have been able to do as a younger man, I'm sure. I'd have taken it very badly.
Yeah, you see children do it. I'm mad at you, and then you go, oh, no, you do something stupid, and they get a little smile. Don't make me laugh. I mean, they can choose it. They don't have to be mad.
Well,
our youngest one,
that,
he chooses his emotions very quickly, doesn't he?
He can be screaming, like really full on shouting about how I didn't put enough soy sauce on his noodles or something like that, in his massively entitled little way of his.
Yeah.
And then as soon as the right amount of soy sauce is on the noodles, oh, thank you, Daddy. I love you. It's amazing.
He complained that I didn't give him enough milk. He said, you only gave me 72 milk. I want 90.
Oh, I'd be similarly angry in that situation. Fair play to the bloke. Fair play. Yes, he has due cause there. Look at this. Mon Carapaccio is beautiful, warm, overcast at the moment. I'm happy to be here and seeing my Portuguese friends again. I think we're feeling that moment with you, Jean. That is so lovely. A treasure, that, if you will. Dougie, another Algarve fan, is with us as well. How are you doing, Doug? Antonio F is also here since we last heralded the arrival of people, and this is not a genuine plumbing advice. We should point out.
What advice is that?
It's just to Baddy. Baddy is glad of the plumbing advice.
Well, yes, I think it's illegal to give. I think it's illegal to give gas advice, isn't it? Unless you're a trained professional.
Yes, in a way, our advice.
My only advice about gas is when you can, take yourself out of the room.
But leave everyone else in there, you rascal.
That's right.
It's Breakfast of Champions from Milan this morning. How are you, Milan? Great to have you here. He's having a filet of sole, that kind of sole, with his kombucha this morning.
Get the bones out of your soul.
Yeah, look at that. Great to see you here. I can see and hear the smile on his face.
Yeah, definitely.
And I can hear him whispering. I'll let you into a little secret. When he and I hug, he whispers things in my ear like, you beautiful man.
Does he?
And I really like it.
I don't get that.
I really like it.
Would you like that, Louise, for someone to whisper in your ear, "You beautiful man"?
Not really, no. Actually, I'd freak out a little bit
It's pretty close. He's
because,
got-
like, when Carl whispers in my ear, it really tickles.
yeah, Milan's got a bit of
Ooh, stop that.
the old,
Especially with the beard, the bristles.
exactly. That's what Milan's got. He's
Oh,
got a
yeah,
bit,
yeah,
he's got
yeah.
a bit of the old face furniture going on. So he's tickling me with his goatee while telling me what a beautiful man I am, and I like it.
Oh, get a room, you two.
We got to meet
And
up.
I liked it.
Okay, where were we? Ah, yes. Oh, Jess is here as well. Morning, Jess. Early dads should tell dad jokes, otherwise it's a faux pas. Oh,
That's
wow.
And
very good.
Wow. Oh,
Snuck that in without a dad joke warning, Jess.
yeah, snuck that in there. Jess, great to see you, especially with material like that. And yes, we can cook. Okay, that's the main thing.
You're
isn't
cooking
it?
on gas. That's good.
If not, kind of, maybe this morning. And last but not least, thank you, Antonio F. He's been working in the room this morning. Bon dia, Carl and Louisa this morning. Oh, well,
Antonio! I couldn't do that on comments. So
you are better than me at this. Thanks for all the help. Well, I hope that improves. You might have to get the local plumber out, and that'll be a great contact to have, I think, in the village in central Portugal. Knowing the local plumber, I think, will be a great asset. The trip went very smoothly for Jean. Helpful Uber driver showed me where the bus ticket office was, and I was able to change the 1200 ticket. That's not the cost of it. That was the time it was leaving online to a 10 o'clock. And I was in, look at that, flew in and then managed to change the coach time, bus time, pulled that 2 hours forward, and in Faro for lunch, Valentina and Andrea were waiting for me. That is so lovely. And thank you. It felt like getting home again. That is wonderful to hear. Connie's in. Well, I sent Connie a message over the weekend. Connie and Hank hosted an expats Portugal gathering on Saturday night, and a good time was had by all, I believe, despite the incredible flow of water up there. But Connie and Hank are okay. Checked in with them over the weekend. Glad to see you here this morning.
a little higher on the hill, apparently, up in Gaia, so they weren't hit quite that hard.
Well, there were cafe chairs and tables floating down the street, weren't there? And a Salbento station was a waterfall. It was extraordinary.
Hello,
water's down the stairway. That's pretty amazing. A river going down into the metro.
Yes, down the metal escalator. Good morning. Loving the show, Lynn. Well, we are also Europe's biggest phone in, Lynn. Stick around till 9:30 and you can call in. Why do you laugh every time I say that, Mrs. M? We are Europe's biggest phone in. Until somebody says otherwise. if we're in
research, but nobody does research these days. We just say things.
That's the reality you're choosing in this moment, and I love it.
It is. And if you think you're Europe's biggest phone in, why don't you phone in? And we'll see you about that at 9:30. And welcome home, Jean.
Anyway,
sorry, have I waffled?
Well, no. I think it's great that everyone's sharing their experiences, and James was talking to us about what it's like to have choice and use choice in our life.
Yeah,
Remember?
Yeah, he does that, doesn't he? When he comes on.
So, James, what was it you wanted to how did you want to focus us this morning?
Good luck with that.
Yeah, focus and Carl in the same sentence. Wait a minute. Well, I've been
observations over the last week.
I'm sorry, I missed the beginning of the question.
What were your observations over the last week? Because being an expat, loads of different things happen all the time.
Yes, and that actually was what I was thinking. I might talk about today. Different things about the challenge of the transition from being in one place to going somewhere else permanently, or with the idea of it being permanently. But before I get into that, there's a couple of things, because you know I pay attention to language a lot. I think I'm learning more slowly because I'm trying to learn correctly, and that slows me down. Yeah. Also, there's a part of me that doesn't like to speak if I think I'm going to make a mistake, and that slows me down. So I have to get over that one. But there are two things that have helped me. One is association of words, so I can remember Portuguese words. And the other one was actually one of those key moments for me, because I remember in the early instruction around Portuguese, they always instructed us to use você when referring to another person in the formal context. But then everyone in Portugal says we don't use você here.
Yeah.
So then I'm left with, so what do I say? And nobody's teaching that. Nobody's saying, this is how we say that, how we say you, singular you, formally in Portugal. And so I asked Luisa, my family friend here, and she said, oh, we use vos.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, why isn't anyone teaching that? Because I got stuck. I was ready to say, I was ready to respond to someone who asked me in Portuguese, how am I? I would say, estou bem, obrigado, e, oh wait, they don't use você. He's not familiar, so I can't say, e tu. What do I say? So I just didn't say anything because I didn't want to use você because I knew it was incorrect. That's the part that stops me. So I think that I often say if it's true for me, it's true for a lot of people. So if you didn't know that, vos is how you say a formal singular you. So if someone you're not familiar with says, how are you? You can say, estou bem, e vos.
E vos sounds great as well, doesn't it? It's got that should be easy to
I mean,
remember.
it's a bit of a minefield, isn't it? Like for English speakers to learn a Latin language, because we don't have that differentiation. It's just
masculine,
the way
feminine, male,
we don't
formal, informal, all that stuff.
Yeah, and the informal and formal is just kind of implied by our tone of voice, really. So
or additional words like geezer or darling.
Yes. Well, I think for most Americans, it's as soon as you're introduced, then you're familiar. I mean, it's just in terms of the culture, there's that sort of operating assumption here, unless there's a very clear hierarchical, like in a business and he's the, president of the company, you're not going to just assume you're friendly, but we also don't make those distinctions in our language so much. It's more in how we behave. So
yeah, and our body language.
Mm-hmm.
You can use contigo as well, can't you? As and you contigo or with you. That I think is quite a useful device in that situation as well.
Okay.
Lord Gilchrist, Portuguese wife shouts at him for using você.
Yes.
I'd like to see that.
So don't speak Spanish. It's the same thing. Don't say você.
That's right. Second only to speaking Spanish. If they don't understand, shout in English. No, I don't.
Or with a good Portuguese accent in English.
Exactly. And I had a lovely little bit of an exchange with the shouty guy in our town.
Who's the shouty guy?
He's very red-faced and he walks around talking to himself, and he gets into quite deep and angry conversations with himself as well and starts shouting. And everyone, he's known in the village, and everyone, just lets him get on with it. But I shout out, I always say hi to him, and sometimes he will leave his conversation with himself and start talking to me a little bit. And he did that yesterday. I said, bom ano novo to you. He said, bom ano novo a ti também as well. And I was like, what? Mm-hmm. And it was a ti também, and Happy New Year to you as well. And I was so proud of myself for breaking down something that came out, a great, return greeting that came out in about 2 hundredths of a second in Portuguese, and I was able to break it down. So I was really pleased with that, and we both went on our ways talking to ourselves and getting like we do. Oh, he often asks me for a cigarette, and I was thinking I might even start buying cigarettes so that I can talk to him a bit more, because I don't have any when he asks me. Anyway,
or at all.
Ever, really. But if I was the perfect gentleman, I think in Portugal, I would probably have a monocle, a walking cane with a little shot of whiskey in it, cigarettes for people who needed them, a handkerchief to wipe the moistened makeup of an upset maiden from time to time. These are all the things that one should have on oneself.
A walking cane with a shot of whiskey in.
Yes.
That sounds really interesting. I've not seen.
And maybe a poison dart, a poison dart at the other end in case I get into any trouble.
I have this vision of Carl Layden with a backpack about this big,
with my people
over. So he has something for whoever approaches him. Oh, you need it. Oh, wait, I've got one of those here. I can just see that.
The chiropractor says, "How did you injure your back?" I'm just a terrible people pleaser. Right, Jake. Sorry, you
trying so hard. The other language thing, the association. I've shared Senora Sonora. That was how I remembered because of the sound. So Mrs. Carrot, Senora Sonora. That's how I remembered carrot, right? Mrs. Carrot. Okay, Mrs. Carrot. That's how I That's the memory function I use. Well, more recently, as I'm learning parts of the body, specific, and I'm being very pragmatic about it. I'm starting with the top: hair, forehead, head, chin. So I've gotten pretty much all the face and the head parts, at least the external ones. And then when I learned chin, I started getting stuck because the Portuguese for chin is kaiju. And the word for cheese is kaiju. And I couldn't remember, is it jus or shu? Chin, kaiju. No, that's cheese. I couldn't put it together. So what I put together was I have chin cheese.
Oh!
Well, like most people, if they've got like a chin that's, you know, got
Like yours, a Kirk Douglas.
Well, it's not exactly Kirk Douglas, but
well, he's got a little catch in there too.
you go like this.
Oh
It's a
no!
bit like if you rub
right.
your belly button.
No, please, come on. That's not.
So I created the sentence: times kaiju no kaiju.
Very good, very good.
Just to help me till I get them both together, because I had to look it up. I go, I keep getting them confused, so I had to do a little mnemonic too.
That's great. Well, we do have a humorous Learn Portuguese page, and it'd be lovely to meme some of these, or even.
Well, don't forget like apple and pasta as well. I mean, they get.
I don't think this is connected with that, is it? It sure tasted good. The chin cheese.
Depending on the cheese
and the chin. I don't want to put my mouth on some chin.
All right, okay, all right. I was going to say let's move on, but I've got a dad joke news item here. What has thousands of legs and smells of cheese? The biggest cheese festival in Portugal, of course, and that's coming up soon. For those of you who do like your cheese, that's coming up in Oliveira do Hospital. On the 11th and 12th of March. Okay, so the municipality of Oliveira do Hospital will be hosting a cheese festival where you can eat that bad boy that's on the screen there.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's going to run away on its own, doesn't it?
Well, it's contained by wax and hard cheese, I think, or either or of those. And you just
it's very moist.
It doesn't it just? Let's stop looking at that and come back to James here, who's talking about
smell it.
Tips and hold on a minute, Antonio F. Queijo, chin, and queijo and queijo, cheese. These may sound very similar if spoken fast.
Yes.
Yeah. So there you go. As James has discovered, has that got you into any difficulties, James, or is it just in the
tuning
mind?
my ear, Antonio? Thank you for that. Yes.
Tuning the ear.
No, I've never gotten in trouble with that because I'm still practicing the vocabulary at home on my own. So I'm not sharing it with people till, again, that's slowing me down. I tend not to take it to the public till I'm relatively certain I've got it right.
Oh, bless you. And your Portuguese family next door must think, is he okay in there? He's walking around, queijo, 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 like this. Like
or if I'm not doing it, well, I don't know about right, but if I'm doing it, queijo, 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 they might think I'm sneezing.
They bring you a box of tissues round. Okay.
Now, that's an interesting thing,
is
that different nationalities sneeze differently.
They do, don't they?
Because obviously in England, you know, the sneeze that I'm most familiar with is the.
I'm terribly sorry.
When I lived in France, I was always quite amazed that they have an M on the end, so it's like a chum. It's not like a chew, it's chum,
which is tuna in Portuguese. Atum.
But then if ever you're nearby when Carl does one of his great big sneezes, like the Chinese sneeze, which you'd have learnt from your Chinese mum.
Let's not wish that on anybody, especially in light of the last couple of years.
It actually sounds like, you know, he's attacking somebody.
Yes.
Or he has been attacked. Like, you know, I hear him sneeze and I think he's having a heart attack or something.
Or it's like a scene from the Pink Panther.
Yes,
where
it's like a very, very sort of like loud kind of event.
Did not sneeze on me, Keta. Right.
So I've not really heard that many Portuguese people sneeze, but I'm wondering what their cultural sneeze is like.
Antonio F.
People do have those.
I have heard a few sneezes, at least locally in my household or neighborhood, immediate neighborhood, and haven't noticed the difference. I didn't go, oh, that's an unusual sneeze. Yeah. So my guess is it's probably similar to, at least what I'm used to in America.
you would think that everyone would sneeze the same thing because it's a biological function,
Yes.
which makes me now wonder if other biological functions are done slightly differently in different places. But
well, laughter seems to be pretty universal, and crying is pretty universal, but maybe physical things we express differently, but the emotional things seem to be fairly consistent. We cry when we're sad, we get very excited when we're angry, we
like
smile.
the expression of cry, like English people are often like,
Well, that's
very
just
quiet.
cultural cultural
Whereas,
suppression.
like Carl does an impression of like the traditional Irish wailing, like from when you went to cinemas with Irish people, and it's very loud. And can you do it?
No, I think that would be a little bit unfair to my Irish hosts at the time. And I
Yes.
be there. I mean, the story.
Oh, okay.
No, the story about the woman in question here is so good that I wasn't even there. I told you about her. I wasn't even there at the time. I was told about
it's
her.
one of your tall tales.
No, it's not a tall tale. It's like it was told to me by my ex-wife who was with her in the cinema, sat next to her watching a bit of a weepy film. And
so third party.
It was third party, but the crying was so intense and loud that it became an anecdote. Yeah, in a third party scenario where she was wailing out loud in this. And I don't know if that is Irish or was particularly her. I think might have been a little bit of both. But yeah, there are different ways of, certainly the beginning part, the upset is quite universal, isn't it? But the expression of it can, I think, vary around the world. Same with, sneezes, orgasms, whatever.
Oh,
yes.
Well, that's the whole that's an after shows hour.
That's next Monday.
After our show.
No, that's next Monday evening at 7:30 when we're doing relationships, love, and sex with the over 60s.
Ah, okay.
Yes, join us for that. Not in any practical way, I hasten to add.
Yes. You're not feeling like a new man then, are you?
No, we're not going to attract the wrong sort of audience for that. No, there will be no practical demonstrations. We'll just be talking about things. We have a few things to resolve here. We have contigo is as informal as tu, so you could use y consigo, which is more formal. Thank you for that, Antonio. And Jean, I could have used the extra hour to snooze on the plane, but I was happy to get to Portugal sooner and get that first beaker. But in reality, it was just another hour to wait for the bus. Excellent stuff. I was on such an adrenaline buzz. At that point, the beaker was irrelevant. Look at that. Yeah, did it keep you awake? Antonio was asking. A little bit of housekeeping. Oh, Paul Richards is here as well. Greetings from Alvor. Hey, Paul. A bit wet overnight, but sun now. 19 degrees already in the Algarve. Good man. So we have had our pointers for 2023. Thank you for Carpe Diem's guidance on this. Maybe we would like to look at historic Portugal more, cultural Portugal, useful phrases, hidden gems, and renovating buildings. Also group activities. Got a little bit of an update. I mean, we've done useful phrases. Thank you to James for that this morning. Cheers, James. And I do really appreciate you for your...
and a teensy cultural there too.
We got a bit of culture. Was it anything historical? Not yet. Hidden gems. Well, we are all hidden gems.
Gas in Portugal.
Yeah, gas in Portugal, renovation. We've ticked a few boxes this morning. And group and activity news. I was with the wonderful John Brand, the poet, on Friday in Alcobaça. He would like to do a poetry workshop with the GuMPers. I'm thinking of inviting people to...
Is it naughty word poetry?
Oh, he's a right potty mouth so-and-so. he's a Yorkshireman who was teaching in, I can't remember which university in America, but he was known as the swearing Yorkshireman. But he's as erudite as they come as poets are. And with a great grasp of Shakespeare and all the classics, but he's also prone to writing really filthy stuff as well. And that's probably what the GuMPers will be more interested in is the latter selection. And I'm thinking of hosting get-togethers on the Silver Coast here, maybe a day, maybe stay over because we'll be probably drinking and eating in the evening. But there could, as well as poetry with John Brand, there could be language with our friend Anna, couldn't there? There could be macrobiotic, Ayurvedic cooking. What are you doing there, Mrs. M?
I'm trying to make the mouse move.
Oh, sorry, it looked really quite odd.
Really? Oh.
Yeah,
oh my God,
if I did that, I would have letters of complaint, I suspect. And James,
I'm banging the mouse on my leg.
That's likely story. That's what I said to the judge that time. And James, a notice, choose an act workshop. So I'm thinking, if people come to the Silver Coast for a Saturday, and there's a choice of workshops, you could do poetry, you could do self-awareness, you could do mindful migration gathering, you could learn Portuguese. we can have a lot of fun doing these things. So if that appeals to you, let me know, and we'll start organising such a thing. But doing a bit of Shakespeare and filthy poetry with John Brand, I think, will be a real laugh. Thank you for the beer, John, that you gave me. He gave me a Zepovino, a beer that he'd found in Caldas de Rainha. So he likes his beer. So that is going to be a lot of fun. Do you know what? It's 9:30. So we can come actually talk about what we were going to talk about from now on, which is tips and strategies for starting anew in Portugal on the GMP. And should we throw those phone lines open, James?
Let's do it.
Yeah, I would make one request on that, because I was noticing that there were several people calling, and it became kind of like a social function, as opposed to the focus got taken away from one or the other of the callers, and the call became a 20-minute call.
Yes.
And in one case, I completely understood that. The one that went late, someone was struggling. It was important to provide support. So I'm not. But my request would be to call in with the idea of asking a question or making a comment on something that we've been talking about.
Yes.
And possibly then managing one at a time rather than becoming a group, because then it's so easy to just get off on tangents all over the place.
No, totally agree with that. And I think people want the sticker. That's why they're phoning in.
Really?
They just want their "I have been on Europe's biggest phone."
Yes, yeah. Well, that's why I tried call 15 times, and you had your phone on airplane mode. Yeah,
you nearly broke the app.
Have you got it on the right mode?
So thank you very much for your keenness, everybody, and the fact that we went up 500% on Friday, but one at a time, as James is saying, and we are throwing the phone lines open now. There we go, the ode to joy, signifying the opening of those lines. Oh, we got our first call. Can you believe that? There it is.
Excellent.
And, I might
people are ready and waiting now.
They may well be. Now let's see if this
technology works.
Hello, caller. Hello, caller.
Hello.
That's a familiar voice. He just wants his fourth sticker. Is that you, Lord Gilchrist? You could have at least pretended to be somebody else.
There goes that anonymity again.
There goes the anonymity. And
oh, no, it's not me. It's not. It's somebody else.
Can you at least do your Madame Doubtfire voice so that so it does seem like it's somebody else for us this week?
Oh, good morning, dearies.
Very good.
That's lovely.
Hello, sweetheart in Lisbon. Have you got a question for us?
Or a comment?
Well, I was just going to say good morning. I hope you had a great weekend. And it's a pretty sort of grey 14 Celsius here in the capital.
Very good.
But tips and strategies for starting anew. I've got quite a few of those, having gone through the process for sure.
Go on then.
Let's do that next week. I've got 13 of them. I didn't even start today. So
yes, even started. Can we have your top three, Andrew? I mean, you have made the effort to ring us, so we don't want to just put the phone down on you. Go on.
Top three.
Yes.
If you're considering Portugal as a destination,
yeah.
First things first. Get a NIF, whatever, and open a bank account, whatever.
Yeah.
Would be my first two. Third thing is people I keep hearing go, oh, I don't know about Portugal, I'm considering it, la la la. All I would say is you've got to feel Portugal. So you mean you've got to come here and do reconnaissance. It's not everyone's method, but I would say if you don't feel it, then maybe it's not the destination for you.
Very good.
Certainly, I would simplify by saying, come and feel Portugal. If you feel it, then obviously it's got some legs. If it doesn't, then it hasn't.
And I'm going to commend that to the tourist board. Come and feel Portugal should be their new strapline. Thank you, Andy. Go on, James.
Well, I was going to say I absolutely agree with the feel, and I felt it without coming. So it's absolutely consistent with what Andrew said, but you don't have to be physically present to feel it.
Ooh, I like that.
Right, okay, so it's not everyone's method, like they would come because they already feel it, but if you're not sure, come and actually experience it,
Yeah, well, and feeling it is the key, so however you do that, yeah, absolutely, and I think most people, I had planned to come get boots on the ground, but then COVID came and I couldn't do that, but I felt it anyway, so I knew I was making the right choice because I felt it. So I'm with you. Yes, absolutely. If you can get boots on the ground and get here, and whether you think you're certain or not, absolutely. It's just not. I just want to say it's not an absolute requirement. I don't, at least in my experience.
I'm having flashbacks of internet dating, where
Doesn't take much, though, does it?
Well, sorry to reduce this conversation down, but you know, like,
feel it first.
Well,
Don't do that
you
on
see,
internet
no,
dating.
you see the photos,
Yeah.
and you might choose to go on a date with someone just based on the photos.
Yeah.
I recognized the mistake of doing that because photos can be very deceptive.
Mm-hmm.
Then I started to like have a photo and also insist on a phone call so I could hear the voice and experience that little thing. You know, like
What?
you know, like experience
the voice.
Okay, yeah.
the voice. You know, because that really plays into it. And then I learned that wasn't enough for me. And you know, you actually, I think, before you like commit to something, from my perspective and my experience, my brief experience of internet dating, you also have to meet in person because you might not like the smell of the person around you. You might not like the way they are. They might not have manners, and things like that don't always come across. That said, I was pretty sure I was in love with Carl before I'd even heard his voice.
Oh, check it out.
But it's the same with Portugal. Like there might be something, you know, there might be something about it that stinks, or you know, that just is a massive turn off.
The Venice of Portugal can be fragrant. This is amazing. So Lord Gilchrist, always a shock, says Raphael, who's with us again, one of the callers from last Friday. Always a shock to hear the genius of the dishonourable Lord Gilchrist. He's smarter than he looks.
I think he's got a good point.
I get that
Andy,
a lot.
are you still here? Is he still on the line?
Yeah, I'm here. I get that quite a bit, though. People say, "Oh, you're smarter than you look." I'm like, why do I keep getting this?
Now, Andrew, while you're here, and whilst that's been said to you publicly, we also have a psychotherapist with us. Would you like any help with that?
Yeah, cool. Then why do people think that I don't look as clever as I am?
We need a picture, don't we?
I can't. Unfortunately, I can't address that because I'm not them. I saw you and said, "Oh, this looks like a strong, intelligent guy." So
yeah.
I had a different reaction to my visual of you than perhaps other people.
I think it's blatant prejudice. That's all it is.
Yeah.
I can see what you mean now.
Yeah, maybe you need to change the picture, as Mrs. M says.
Yeah.
No, I like the picture too. Andy, you said you liked it. I did too. I saw it and said, "Wow, striking."
Handsome.
So,
yeah, he's a handsome fella.
Well, I normally have a cleaner shaven face. To be honest, I look a bit thuggy with the stubble. I think.
Look at this. Would you count Raphael as one of your friends or not? Take the help, Andy. You need it. He's on the screen now.
Wow.
That's a bit much, isn't it?
I love Raphael. I think I slap him hard.
Yeah, I think he deserves it on this occasion.
You don't know me that way.
Andy, would you like, not all of us are in relationships with natives. How has that sort of affected your settling into Portugal? Because I imagine that's one of the best ways of learning a culture.
Yes, I mean, he clearly got to feel it, didn't he? Before he arrived?
Exactly. But do you
my
also think,
mileage?
do you also think that might? Go on.
My mileage does vary, to be fair, from a lot of others. I certainly think having a native as a life partner, as a wife, has been advantageous because I have a built-in translator, a native speaker. That has been a massive plus. There's lots of massive pluses because I had, before I happened across the Good Morning Portugal crew, as I shall know it this morning, all my sort of connections here were local. So I had sort of friends that were Portuguese. We had a good circle of those. My wife introduced me to a lot of people she knows. So it's kind of the kind of migrant or expat thing happened latterly. So for me, my mileage does vary. I love the place from when I first sort of stepped foot on the tarmac, and I say about this feeling, I definitely felt the love being here. And it's not everywhere I've been that I could say that. So, but certainly I was embraced, made welcome, and I felt loved being here. I mean, maybe it's different from that first experience because there's more and more migration, more and more English speakers. But I still certainly I feel the love, and I would encourage anyone, if you have the opportunity, come for a reconnaissance visit, come and check it out. And I think in the chat, Antonio said do it both winter and summer, so you get both sides of the coin. But I mean, the reality is winters are mild here. I mean, it's 14 degrees in January in Lisbon. It's not cold. But yeah, certainly my mileage does vary from a lot of others.
All right, excellent stuff. Lord Gilchrist, you will be getting a 4th certificate, which won't be difficult because you're actually the template for the certificate anyway. You're on there so much. So good tips, Andy, from Simon as well this morning, and Fiona, good tips, Andy. Who doesn't like a good tip first thing in the morning?
Yeah.
Lord Gilchrist, thank you so much, and have a very good day. Lots of love to you and your lovely native partner.
Life partner, wife.
Okay. The use of the word native is so funny. I was just playing with that. So yes, be careful feeling the natives.
I will reinforce my position. She is the core of my universe. So
there we go.
That's
yes.
lovely.
Well done.
That's so lovely.
Oh, that felt good.
Do you know what, Andy? I want to, one day I'd love to hear about the actual love story. I'm a real sucker for a love story, so I'd love to hear about
Mrs. M.
He's probing. Well, I mean, as and when, I'm sure.
Is he not going to do it now? As and when? Okay,
you can do. You can do. I mean, it goes back to Louisa's experience of dating online, because I've tried it as well.
Yes.
And the first time I tried it, it was an absolute nightmare. I mean, I have stories that are bizarre in the extreme. One example is I arranged to meet a girl. I said I'd pick her up. I turned up at her house. Arriving at instantly the same time as me was another guy. And she opened the door and she said, "Oh, good, you're both here." She said that, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not in for this." So that was a thing.
Oh my word!
So she wasn't going to just pick between you. She wanted both of you.
Well, I don't know what was happening, but
you didn't fancy it.
She was very excited that she had two guys turn up at the same time. I'm like, yeah, this isn't something I'm in for. So
was that for was that for a night inside, or?
I don't know. I was on my heels. I turned and ran virtually.
Okay,
so,
I'm putting the kibosh on this because I am thinking, for one thing, we need to hear I think this is the second week we've been delayed in hearing James's wisdom, and we should have a special on internet dating.
Yeah, okay, and I'll host it.
Should we do
right.
it? Should we do
Seeing
it?
as I've done more of
I
it
think
than
so.
you.
Let's do a GuMPer special on one evening on dating. Actually, let's make it about meeting people in Portugal, because I think that's a useful thing, isn't it? You know, like ideas for having relationships, starting relationships in Portugal. And we can weave a few of these disasters into the conversation as well. Sounds like
that's what we really want.
It is.
We really want the disasters, man.
We do really.
I mean, it's a double-edged sword, because also I met Margarita via internet dating, which is, something that I never thought would happen.
Quite.
I thought I'd give it a try, the old college try.
Yes.
What's
but anyway,
the college try?
Well, it's an expression. It's nothing.
Oh, okay.
He's withdrawing from
James has heard the old college try, haven't you, James? I'm sure.
Have you tried the college
try? Absolutely.
What is that?
What are they talking about? It's like you might want to give it a go, sort of thing.
Well, give it a proper go.
Oh, the college try. Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Yeah, the old college try. Anyway, so long story short, then, I met her and she turned out to be amazing. So.
Yeah, well, truly. Absolutely.
But there is a longer version of that anyway. So.
Well, we look forward to hearing it one evening on how to start relationships successfully and fruitfully.
I have lots of tips about dating Portuguese women.
Even better. Okay, you're booked. You are booked. Okay. Andrew, thank you so much. Of course, Professor Gilchrist should give the college try. I'm intrigued to
Yeah.
find out more about this phrase. Oh gosh, I feel like a war veteran of online dating, and the way is far from over, and you lose peace. Oh, bless. We definitely do need a special,
Yes,
don't
we do.
Oh my goodness. Okay,
We do.
Andrew, I'm definitely saying goodbye to you now. Your certificate is in the post.
Thanks, Andrew.
All right, Carl. Have a
All right,
great
mate. You have a great day. Love to Margarita.
Yeah.
Thanks, Andrew.
See you later. Right. Okay. Look, James, we might eventually get to tips and strategies for starting anew in Portugal on the GMP. Thank you, caller. What about Portuguese chat up lines? This is going to be amazing when we do it, isn't it?
Yeah.
This evening. So, James, what do you want to do first? The college try or the tips and strategies for starting anew in Portugal?
Well, I'm happy to explain college try if it's just a function of not understanding the phrase.
Go on.
At least in American English, it refers to giving something an honest, serious, committed effort. The old college try, right? And I don't know why it's a college try. It may go to sports, probably, and something about the nature of the commitment maybe feel youthful. I'm not sure the origin of it, but the old college try means I'm really going to give it an effort. I'm committed to giving it an effort.
That's funny. I thought it would be the other way around.
I thought, like, at college, people kind of
give it a go.
Don't always show up for things.
Yeah, well, it may mean that in British English. I don't know. That's the third language I'm learning, or the second language I'm learning beyond what I know.
Excellent. So we have delayed you enough. James, Holley, tips and strategies for starting new in Portugal.
Well, at the risk of being accused of false advertising, yes. I always throw in a few leftovers from things that were mentioned in previous shows. It's like, oh, I'd like to address that. And quite honestly, I've probably got a full 30 minutes worth of stuff on the tips. So if I have it my way, I'd prefer to just put that one aside till next week and then be really committed to getting to it.
Yes, we'll give it a college try, shall we, next week?
There we go. We'll give it the old college try next week. Yes, there it is. Perfect.
I'm lucky.
I mean, something that came up this morning, though, was that thing about, getting a feel for the place. And Bob agrees with you here. We felt Portugal before we arrived. I felt the energy of home flying over, fingertips on the heart and ask. Is that?
Ask.
Fingertips on the heart and ask. What does that mean?
Well, I was thinking because they've been asking, like, co-creating their new life.
Okay.
I might be wrong there.
Oh, like that's a big ask when you're requesting something. Yeah, that makes sense.
That's a lovely big ask. And much less duplicity as well. I mean, and certainly we feel that, and that was a slight contention there, wasn't it? If maybe that's too dramatic way of putting it, but some people are thinking, and you said, James, I think you can feel it without the reconnaissance mission, can't you? Tell us more about that, because it's different kinds of personalities, I suppose.
Well, to me, it goes to intuition, and I think intuition tends to develop as we age because we pay less attention to what we think, we pay less attention to the extreme emotions, and we tune in more. And, it's a stereotype or generalization, of course, but I think that for me, certainly, I've been tuning more and more into intuition. So, and learning to trust what's I'm later am able to verify or say, oops, I was wrong on that one. So there's the tuning that comes in with that. If we're looking inward, why was I so off on that one? I was so certain. And other times, how was it that I was so accurate with this one? And it's not always conscious, but there's this sort of fine tuning with intuition that, at least in my experience, has been developing over time. Mm-hmm. In addition, I did all the recon online. I was checking the weather every single day on a weather app. I was looking at videos on the places I was interested in and getting a feel for the culture that's in the videos, not just looking at the scenery, but how are the people interacting? How does it feel to me if I put myself in that place at that time with those people? So there was a certain visceral experience that I was getting without being physically present. And absolutely, I mean, I'm the kind of person who I had it planned. It's like, I'm going to Portugal this spring and I'm going to spend a couple of weeks there and see how it feels, physically being there. And then COVID hit and I couldn't do that. And I didn't know how long I was going to be in California waiting to do that. So I said, what can I do? I can start the visa process. So I did that, and the more I did that, the more I intuited the experience of actually going, the better it felt, the healthier, the more it landed. And it was not a coincidence that Ericeira was my location, because on a feeling level, even though I had experienced Santa Cruz for a very long time, my reaction to experiencing the limited experience I had of Ericeira was, I think I found the Santa Cruz of Europe or of Portugal. And that there was a feeling that went with it. So I can't really explain it beyond that. I don't know that I would want to base all my decisions always in my life on my intuition, because it can be incorrect or flawed. It can be misinterpreted. But for me, it worked. And I'm finding that when I get still and I look inward and I check with my heart, get out of my head, check with my heart, and just, how does it feel? Okay, I'm going to consider moving to Portugal and never coming back. How does that feel?
Wow.
There was never it was always like, it felt that way. It's like, okay, now can I trust this? So then there's a lot of other stuff that I do, because I am intellectual and I do tend to break things down.
Yes.
But ultimately, I was, what I say in the sharing of my experience, I was 95% certain I was going to want to be here and stay here anyway. So I just went and got the visa, bought the one-way ticket, got rid of my stuff, and came. And my backup was, worst case scenario, I don't like it and I go back. So it was not that big a risk. But I don't have a family of young children, and my work situation allowed me to change there are a lot of things that weren't at risk if I took that step. So it was easier for me in that regard. The only pet I needed to deal with was my potted lime tree. So it's like, it was not that difficult a step to move into, and that's certainly not going to be true for most people. So I'm with Andy. I absolutely say yes. Boots on the ground is a great way to get a feel. But
Yes.
all I was trying to say is, it's not absolutely necessary to make a good decision. That's all I'm trying to say.
And it's not either or, is it? It doesn't have to be either or, which is the best way. The best way is going to be the one that works for you, right?
Yeah.
Rather than trying to figure it out through other people's, vicariously through other people's experiments. Do we
and how ready you are to make that kind of a commitment? Some people aren't ready. It's like the swimming pool might be cold, so I'm going to dip my toe in it before I jump in, because I don't want to be in cold water. Like, that's a perfect strategy for some folks. Some people go, well, I'll find out if it's too cold or not, and they just jump in.
Yes.
Right? So what's right for one may not be right for another, but generally, I think it's great to get a firsthand, physically contacted experience of something.
And you know what? Weaving the themes of the morning together, what's right for us is very interesting as well, isn't it? Because that's a good question. How do you know when something is right for you? Is that based on the habits of a lifetime, or because it says in the Bible, or because it's what your mum and dad told you? Or, a magic moment was when you said, what would it feel? It's something along the lines of, what would it feel like if I go and live in Portugal and don't come back? Something along those lines. And I felt a kind of bristling of like, wow, that's a great question. And these are great questions we can ask ourselves, aren't we? When you put it on the line, or in the heart, or in the mind like that, I think, in terms of answering the question, what is right, it's a lot to do with energy. It's a lot, because you can find all the research you want, can't you? You can do all the research you want to back up your confirmation bias, and that can be a very thin and brittle, rational, logical thing. But there's nothing like that feeling, I think we all know, which is, you ask a question of that kind and your whole body responds to the question in some way or other. But when it responds like, yes, I think I would like that, we know what that feeling's like, don't we? That's superb. Thank you for that. Wayne's here again this morning. Thanks, Wayne, for being here. Lee McGrady also. And Jeff was also in this morning. Good to see you here, Jeff. Top tip would be to rebalance your expectations.
It's on my list.
Top of the list, which we'll come back to tomorrow. And Andrew saying expectations can be hard to be met. Not if you're that young lady who invited two men round to her house that evening. Her expectations got, well, to some
they didn't
extent.
get met.
No, they didn't, did they?
Because she hadn't been
wonder what she was
open
thinking
about it.
Did she want both gentlemen callers, or was she just sort of thinking, if I invite two, at least one of them might turn up? Who knows if you're like,
My first thought was she'd been doing research about how men are very competitive. So she brought two so they'd fight over her, and whoever won would be the one she went out with, something like that.
I think she was trying to
bring about a new experience
yes.
for Andrew, at least by the sound of it. Okay. Who says Portugal is home now, pure and simple? That's a real Sparta way of dealing with it, isn't it? This is Portugal. Ha! Hoo-ah!
And I might even say perhaps it always has been, and you found it.
Oh my word! Check you out. How does that feel, Andrew, when you put that through your processing? It always was, and now you found about it as you gaze into the, what did he call her? His universe.
The core of his universe.
That was a special moment as well this morning, wasn't it? We could all feel that. Hola, bon dia. I am late to the party. Marty, you're welcome at any time, but still in time to hit the.
Should we call him late to the party, Marty?
Late to the party, Marty. Is that true of you in other situations, Marty? You can jump in a cold pool and you can always get out if it's too cold.
Yeah.
Yes, as Wim Hof said, I think. And the core of my universe. Look, I hope you tell her that as well, not just us. Tell her as well today. That'll make her day, I hope. If she had invited another girl along.
Steve, priceless.
Yes. He doesn't have to answer, does he?
No, don't answer that. Don't answer that, Andy.
In case,
especially not after the core of the universe saying you don't want to mess with that. That was spot on, perfect.
This is his answer. Oh dear, Andrew. Okay, we have a few minutes to go. So a great resolution, James. Very well done there to bring the tips and strategies list, and we'll start with it. And we won't open the phone lines. Maybe we'll do it at 9 o'clock next week. And we'll get right into it, and then we can take some.
Do you know when things?
She is listening.
In my experience, when things don't often come off on the right day or at the right time, it's just because something is still ready to drop into the experience.
Yes.
So I always, I've really been sort of experimenting with that, with my client work, because or like recording a show or something, thinking, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and for some reason or another, it's just not quite right in terms of timing. And then when it does come off, there's always that hindsight of I got why it was delayed now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Something else is like ready to kind of drop in and inform you.
Yeah.
So I think things just happen in the right time.
Yeah.
Well, my strategy has developed over years, and I have never gone into a client appointment with an idea of here's what we're going to do today. I always go in, we'll deal with what shows up. So there's just this openness for what's in the room right now, and we'll work with that. But I always take a note. It's always in my notes so that if it feels important, it's like, well, I want to get to this at some point. And I trust that at some point it will just kind of fall into itself and I won't have to generate it. So I do the same thing here. I'm ready to just, matter of fact, when I take my own notes on what happens on the show for the potential of future blogs or whatever may happen, I'll just put the word banter sometimes in there like that. It was just a back and forth. It wasn't a given topic. And I may say, oh, banter. And then I say, driver's license, just things to remind me what the banter was about, but it wasn't necessarily the theme like I had for today. And it's like, well, there's always next week. It's the what I got down is not going to change. It's pretty thoughtful through. So, spending the time doing this, having the opportunity to hear other people's experience and that back and forth. And then I've not always, but frequently have notes from the last, what I heard on the show last week. There was something about this. So, oh, I might want to get back to that. And I'll take a note on that. So I've always got something. I used to have a fear of, oh, what are we going to talk about? It's like, then I got rational. I said, okay, has that ever happened in your life that you haven't been able to talk with somebody? It's like, no. Okay. So it's probably an irrational fear then.
It doesn't tend to happen here either, does it? I don't think that's happened to us. Especially when you get random comments like this. I wonder if James has been asked to roast anyone. That means something different in the UK. Let's not go there right now.
I'm not a cannibal.
Well, there are at least two meanings now. It's all about your mindset too. If I take a wrong turn in the car, I always say, "Oh, a mini adventure," and not get annoyed. Reframe. Nice reframe.
Yes.
I don't and not get annoyed that I or the sat nav made a mistake. I'm like that as well, aren't I? When you're map reading, love, I just think, "Oh, we're going off on another lovely adventure together." With the
Which is easy to do.
Often down some kind of like
gravel
path
track.
that becomes a gravel path that then becomes no path, and we're hurtling through.
And the Portuguese family who wave at us, knowing that they'll be waving at us again in 2 minutes.
Coming back, right?
So we have to reverse.
Well, and that has a lot to do again with expectation. If I'm in a hurry to get somewhere and I get off track, it's much more difficult for me to take this. Ooh, I'm off on a new adventure thing. It's like I gotta get where I'm going. Yes. I don't have time for this. So our state of mind and what else is going on, but the choice is always there. Just sometimes the choice to have an adventure is more difficult to access.
Well said. Well said. And don't give yourself a hard time if you don't reframe in time as well, because that just
I could have done that. No, yes, could have, would have, should have. Yeah,
you can let it go. Okay, so a little bit of news I wanted to bring your attention to, as well as the thousands of legs and smells of cheese. That's the cheese festival coming up, and some dad jokes and Hugo Nuna. Can you stay with us for a couple more minutes? James?
Would love to. Would love to. Sure.
Okay, so this is on the news page at the moment. There's some interesting things, including Communities Unite with Food and Music. That is Comunidades Unidas, which is happening over here on the Silver Coast. Bands playing, food being made. I love this. Don't miss Communities Unite's first event at the Capalheira Association. Communities Unite is a group of musicians formed from the Portuguese and expat community whose aim is to bring people from different nationalities and walks of life together using music. What a lovely idea. I'm sure this is franchisable, not officially.
Where is that taking place?
This is in Óbidos.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, over
it
there.
It doesn't actually say Óbidos.
Max Bar. I think it's you're supposed to know from Capalheira e Navalha there, but this is a model that can be copied all over the country. First event, free to attend, but if you'd like to book a barbecue meal for €15, you'll get chicken, ribs, rabbit on the barbecue, and fries, wine, water and juice. If you'd like to book for the barbecue, please contact me directly. That's Rich, and you can if you go to our news page. Actually, interestingly, there isn't anywhere. You're right. It doesn't say exactly where it is. It doesn't say who to get in contact with.
They all know.
They all know. It's very Portuguese. They're into the Portuguese spirit of marketing there. Well done. Malika Gardner, hello to you. And Clive, thrilled and proud that Malika, says Clive, has her first art exhibition in Lagos. That kicked off on
it's so
Saturday.
Beautiful, the pictures.
Her work is wonderful. You can see that if you click on that link on our news page there. And if you're an artist, if you're doing anything in Portugal that we can direct people to, do let us know and we'll stick it on our news page. Other news items then are the drought is over in virtually all of Portugal. There's a link to that. There's the Algarve Reforestation Project. And interestingly, first ever national survey of residents' ethnic racial origins begins in Portugal as well. And that's that information about driving licenses. I hesitate to mention it unless you're over 60. Breathe, man, breathe. Reframe, choose, act on that. And let us go to the last few comments then. Wrong turns means exploring. Last time was coming back from Golgar Festa and ended up on a country road for about an hour. Unnamed roads. Yeah. That's them, isn't it? With the gravel on and the Portuguese family waving at you. Put those events on the GuMPer map. Excellent idea. I've done that. It's easy to do. Then you'll see where they are as well. Thank you very much for that mention by Randy. Nearly 2,000 visits to our GuMPer map. Really pleased with that. And let's go to the dad jokes and the Ugo Nuno of this morning. Oh, Fiona, to you, James. Honestly, don't be too slow to use what you do know, even if you aren't sure. The Portuguese people will always pretend they didn't understand for at least 2 attempts. Then will repeat back to you exactly what you said. Very occasionally, just blending the words together even further. They will rarely not keep you right. Sometimes in a school mom kind of way, but mostly in a jovial fashion. I only wish I had more opportunity to speak with people, even though I know lots of words. So feeling your pain and encouraging you to give it to them.
And to be clear, I do that. When I'm out in public, I use what I know, and I'm usually fairly correct. Occasionally I make mistakes. My pronunciation might be a little confusing, but it's not like I'm stopping myself, but I'm definitely doing it more slowly because I'm trying to get it right before I put on the performance.
Curtain up in the cafe.
Get all my dress rehearsals done.
We did Ursula's deep thought of the day. We've got an Ugo Nunu. I won't put the meme on because Mrs. M doesn't like it. I'll do it when she's not here. Who knew the earliest recorded hot air balloon ascent was in Portugal? A model hot air balloon invented by Father Bartolomeu de Guzmão. That's a good name, isn't it? A Guzmão. 1685 to 1724, ascended on the 8th of August 1709. The balloon took flight at the Casa da India in Terreiro do Passo. Well done, Portugal. Fantastic. God score tip of the day then. The start of a new week and our usual Monday child wrangling. For a change, the weather looks dry today, so I'll be out walking with the little one. Enjoy your week and your God score tip of the day, Coach Turner. Thank you for this video to come from you. He sent me a video over the weekend. Remember, for most exercises, there are less strenuous versions if you can't manage the full version. For instance, press-ups can be carried out against a wall or a tabletop, or on a willing friend, I would say as well. Doing the easier ones allows you to build up gently to more difficult versions. Play with it and see what you can achieve. What are you doing in there?
Move on.
Yes. What's going on in there? I'm just playing with it to see what I can achieve. Coach Turner said it was a good idea.
Gently.
Yes,
At first.
There are less strenuous versions, of course. Remember that too. Okay, the fight dad jokes then, everybody. If you lose a sack in,
Sock.
Yes, beg your pardon. If you lose a sock in the wash and it comes back as a Tupperware lid that doesn't fit anything, there you go. That could be true. Find out and send us pictures, please. Go have a little look around the back of the tumble dryer. I moved my modem into the barn. Now I have stable Wi-Fi. That is good, isn't it? These are great, T-Duck. And it's amazing how you keep finding them. The person who smiles when things go wrong has already thought of someone else to blame. There you go. There's one for you workers today. And a visual dad joke, a couple of these, because you sent us one, James, and my dad making a dad joke. Look, it's a coffee filter. That's very COVID appropriate, that, isn't it?
Nice.
And one you sent to us, we're going to be giving money to the Bomberos, despite saying this today. Don't you hate those annoying people who come to your door and tell you that you'll need to be saved or you'll burn? No, not those people. Stupid firefighters. I do. You like a Trekkie meme, don't you? The Trekkie memes added a magnificence about them, I think.
Well, this is Facebook and the algorithm. I clicked on one because I thought it was funny, and now they're coming up every day, multitudes of them. And I'm filtering out most of them, but the ones that actually make me chuckle, I'm going to share that one. And a lot of them are Star Trek.
Well,
yes.
And thank you for doing so. Absolutely. Okay, so a final video. This from Coach Turner, a kind of God score tip of the day. If you're struggling a little bit to sculpt and craft your body beautiful, you may take inspiration from this. Before I play it, let me say thank you to you, James, and to you, Mrs. M, and all the kids who seem to be in the studio now. Have a great day.
3 of them.
Have a great day, friends. Cheers, James. Have a nice round of applause for you, my friend. And let's finish with this. Ciao for now, everybody. Have a good day. We'll see you tonight for the gardening Q&A, and at 7:30 for Death and Dying in Portugal, a matter of life and death. Please have a look at this. If you're struggling drinking too many of the old cervejas, muito cervejas, check this out. Bye.
It's been a long day without you, my friend. In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, GuMPers.